But we had a lot of stuff today, Kim. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Diddy's former assistant was forced up there.
Obama's face on a pill bottle. That's just one of the shocking details to emerge from Diddy's jaw-dropping testimony. The courtroom revelations are piling up fast, painting a troubling picture of the music mogul's private world. From alleged bizarre drug habits to unsettling party demands, the claims surfacing are both surreal and deeply disturbing. As the testimony unfolds, questions are mounting about what's really going on behind the scenes. Stay tuned as we break down every explosive allegation and dig into the truth behind these outrageous claims.
And Sean Diddy Combs has moved into its 7th day of testimony. Today, the former personal assistant to Mr. Combs, David James, returned to the stand. Jurors also heard from the mother of singer Cassie Ventura, Combs' ex-girlfriend. He has pleaded not guilty to all of those charges. NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas is outside of the courthouse in New York City. Chloe, walk us through what has happened in court so far today.
Yeah, so Ellison, you talked about David James. He is somebody who worked for 2 years for Combs as a personal assistant, and he really pulled back the curtain on what it's like to work for someone like Combs. He said that sometimes his days would be 20 hours at a time, and he would work 21 days in succession with no breaks. And he talked about how he knew that he was signing up for a tough job, but he also talked about how Combs allegedly had him...
Think about that, man. Working 20-hour days, 21 days straight with no break. Think about the stuff he has heard and seen. Think about all this is what I was talking about. This is what I've been waiting for. Because, you know, I know a lot of people are quiet because they probably were going to testify. And then there's people who are quiet because, you know, they're trying not to get on Diddy's bad side, allegedly. But this right here, I said bodyguards and drivers, and of course, personal assistants. These are the people who know the most, seen the most. Wow, that's, boy.
So have him get prescriptions under his own name.
Okay, so, sorry. I don't know if I can mention all the stuff he would get for Diddy, you know, stuff for Diddy to put in his body, but they were just saying that that's what he was doing. He was the one that was getting this stuff, and saying that, you know, now they're getting into the racketeering and all that. Because people were like talking about Cassie, saying all of this, yes, is DV, but this is not what he's on trial for. And hey, but wait, there's more. Now we starting to get into it. They said they were just laying the platform down.
Let's break this down. Why on earth would a pill bottle have Barack Obama's face on it? That's the question everyone has been asking since David James, Diddy's former assistant, took the stand. According to James, during his time working for the music icon, Diddy never left home without a collection of pill bottles. But one stood out among the rest, a bottle allegedly featuring the smiling image of the 44th President of the United States. The claim sent a ripple of disbelief through the courtroom, and honestly, it's not hard to see why. What kind of pills would have Obama's face on them? Were they prescription drugs, something illicit, or just an odd collector's item? So far, no one has been able to provide a clear answer. However, James' vivid testimony makes it difficult to dismiss the detail as a mere throwaway comment. He described the pill bottles as a consistent part of Diddy's daily routine, not hidden in drawers or discreetly tucked away, but carried openly like any other personal item. That specific image of Obama stood out to him, and he didn't hold back in describing how bizarre and out of place it seemed. No brands were mentioned, no pill types identified, just that strange, surreal image. Courtroom reactions reportedly ranged from stunned disbelief to stifled laughter. One observer was even heard whispering, "Is he serious?" This isn't just another outrageous claim tossed into the legal chaos. It adds a layer of peculiarity to the portrait being painted of Diddy's life behind closed doors. Pill bottles, after all, carry heavy connotations, whether medical, recreational, or even suggestive of irresponsible behavior. But why Obama's face, specifically? Was it a nod to celebrity culture, a hidden message, or just a novelty item blown out of proportion? James didn't clarify whether it was one bottle or several, but the detail was specific enough to leave people scratching their heads. Legal experts have noted that while such claims might seem trivial or even comical, they can contribute to the psychological portrait jurors are forming of the defendant. One analyst suggested that the Obama bottle paints a picture of someone unpredictable, with eccentric habits that reinforce the broader narrative of a chaotic, unconventional lifestyle. Here's the kicker. As of now, there's no physical evidence to support James' statement about the mysterious bottle. Without a photo, receipt, or actual item, this claim remains purely hearsay. The defense might argue it's a wild exaggeration, or they may choose to stay silent, hoping the public shifts focus to more serious testimony. Still, the Obama pill detail has gone viral. Social media is buzzing with memes, commentary, and jokes, while late-night comedians have already started riffing on the surreal image. And though Diddy has remained tight-lipped in court, the story has struck a nerve with the public. Whether true or not, it's yet another bizarre twist in a growing list of accusations. But the madness doesn't stop there. The testimony only gets more outrageous. Beyond the pill bottles, there's now talk of so-called freak-off parties. And what James revealed about Diddy's alleged demands at those events might actually be even harder to believe.
We had a lot of stuff today, Kim. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Diddy's former assistant was forced up there. We had Cassie's mom take the stand. The Punisher stepped up and got up in there. And then we had a HSI agent from National Security, Homeland Special Agent, who was responsible for the planning. And then we had a tease at the end, a big name coming tomorrow, it sounds like. Whoo! All right, we're going to get through it all,
Potentially.
Kim.
Potentially. We're going to get to it all.
It looks that way. What was your overall takeaway today on day 7?
Overall takeaway, I was surprised. First of all, I will say David James, the assistant, is hilarious. I think everybody was there were multiple notes of people laughing in the courtroom, which technically you shouldn't be doing, but I couldn't help myself either. I had moments where I was just laughing my head off at just some of the answers that he was giving. Of course, his cross-examination was done by Costco lawyer, as we lovingly call him, Mark Agnifilo, because of his baby oil jokes, or not jokes, but defense that was absolutely ridiculous. After that, we had Cassie's mom. Cassie's mom was not cross-examined. Diddy's team wouldn't do it, which I thought spoke volumes, and definitely learned something new of what she had to go through today. Then we had the Punisher, who was a worker that engaged in some of the FOs. Kind of contradicted himself. More than once. Not good. And then we moved into the HSI agent, and this was the agent who was in charge of organizing the Miami raid, and he had kind of just gotten started when the day ended. So lots to go through.
What exactly is a freak-off party? That's the term David James used while testifying about his alleged experiences working for Diddy. According to James, these weren't your typical celebrity house parties. They were exclusive, chaotic, and filled with moments that left him feeling deeply uncomfortable. And he wasn't just there to witness the madness. James claimed he was forced to participate, handling tasks he described as humiliating and intrusive. In his testimony, James painted a picture of an environment ruled by excess. These parties allegedly involved A-list guests, unpredictable demands, and a blurred line between personal and professional boundaries. James said his role extended far beyond that of a traditional assistant. He managed logistics, covered for unexpected issues, and even handled what he described as deeply personal requests from Diddy himself. The pressure to keep everything running smoothly, especially as the nights grew more outrageous, often felt unbearable. One of the most disturbing allegations James revealed involved being instructed to monitor intimate interactions between guests, to make sure everything stayed under control. He claimed this responsibility frequently pushed him into uncomfortable and inappropriate situations that crossed clear professional and ethical lines. The demands, he said, created a toxic environment where he felt both exploited and powerless. James recounted being trapped in a job where saying no to Diddy reportedly led to immediate retaliation, being yelled at, humiliated, or threatened. He spoke emotionally about the toll this constant pressure took on his mental health. The parties, according to James, were chaotic cycles where anything could go wrong at any moment, and when it did, he was the one expected to fix it. One of the most gut-wrenching moments in his testimony came when James described an incident at a freak-off party where he had to escort a belligerent guest out. Diddy, he claimed, later blamed him for the guest's behavior and publicly humiliated him. That experience, James said, solidified how expendable he truly felt. It was a moment that seemed to crystallize the toxic dynamic between him and his employer. If the pill bottle with Obama's face was strange, these party allegations take things to an entirely different level. They don't just depict a toxic workplace. They suggest an environment built on control, secrecy, and indulgence taken to dangerous extremes. And yet, the revelations don't stop there. James also alleged something even darker: Diddy's handling of firearms. What he claimed next sent shivers through the courtroom.
Government says that Combs was running his businesses and carrying out illegal activity and using assistants, security guards, and other individuals that work for him to carry out that illegal activity. So he's one of many individuals that previously worked for Combs that we're going to be hearing from. And like you said, who else did we hear from today? We finally heard from Cassie Ventura's mother. It was very brief on the stand, but she talked about taking photos of her daughter in 2011 when she came home to Connecticut for the Christmas holidays, and that she was shocked to see her daughter's body, that she hadn't been aware that her daughter's relationship with Combs had been violent at this point, and that she took those photos to memorialize them. And thankfully for her, she did, because they showed those in court today to the jurors.
Okay, again, just in case I had to trim out that Cassie's mother was talking about the photos she took revealing all the DV that went on with Diddy. She wanted to, take a photo and keep that for herself, as far as, like a day like this come, and she has those photos. As I said before, Cassie told the mother, and the mother knew about that stuff. She just didn't know about the freak off. But again, I'm just saying this because it might have been chopped out in the video.
Chloe, explain for us how the prosecution plans to use these witnesses to build their case as it relates to the specific charges Diddy is facing here.
So remember, there are 5 charges, like I said, racketeering, conspiracy. So that's where you get the individuals that worked for Combs, whether it was security, personal assistants, chief of staff. We're going to be hearing from a chef who once worked for Combs. Then you have people like Cassie Ventura, you have her mother, you have individuals talking about coercion, force, feeling that there was so much violence in the relationship for some of these women that they couldn't leave, so therefore they were forced to participate in these freak-offs.
Right.
In charge. And remember, if convicted on all, he faces up to life in prison.
All right. NBC's Chloe Malas, thank you.
Firearms. That's where David James' testimony shifted from bizarre to deeply unsettling. According to the former assistant, it wasn't unusual to see guns in Diddy's home or at certain events. But these weren't just for security, he implied. They were out in the open, part of the environment, and impossible to ignore. James described these moments not just as uncomfortable, but as actively dangerous. One specific example he cited involved a loaded weapon being displayed casually during a private gathering. It wasn't locked up. It wasn't hidden. It was just there, in plain view of anyone in the room. James didn't mince words about how unsafe he felt. He recounted one incident where the tension was so thick, he genuinely feared that something could go terribly wrong. While he didn't say whether any direct threats were made toward him, his message was clear. The combination of firearms and the volatile atmosphere Diddy allegedly fostered left him constantly on edge. For James, these weapons weren't just tools, they were symbols. Symbols of power, control, and, at times, intimidation. He claimed that Diddy used them not in any overtly violent way, but more as part of an environment built on fear and dominance. The potential legal implications of these allegations are serious. If any supporting evidence emerges, this could lead to inquiries into whether firearms were stored, displayed, or used unlawfully. One legal analyst noted that in cases involving high-profile figures, claims like these can spark broader concerns, especially if weapons were present during parties or work-related events. Even without a single incident of misuse, the implication of carelessness or reckless display could carry significant consequences, particularly when paired with other troubling behaviors already being alleged. James insisted that this was all part of a larger pattern, one where chaos, dominance, and volatility were everyday elements of working for Diddy. The toxic environment he described wasn't limited to shouting matches or outlandish demands. It had a darker, more dangerous undercurrent where unpredictability ruled and fear was never far away. He painted Diddy as someone who thrived on control, whether through his sheer force of personality or, as James claimed, through the quiet but potent threat of a visible firearm. The courtroom reportedly fell silent as James described these experiences. Observers said the mood shifted dramatically. This wasn't just another strange party story or celebrity eccentricity. It was a glimpse into a world that felt far more ominous. And while Diddy has faced other controversies over the years, including whispers of weapon-related incidents, none have resulted in criminal charges to date. What made this part of the testimony so chilling was James' personal reflection. He admitted there were nights when he'd leave work wondering if he'd made it out physically and emotionally intact. The mental toll, he said, was just as real as the fear. Yet, despite the gravity of these allegations, no physical evidence or corroborating witnesses have been presented, at least not yet. For now, it's James' word against silence, leaving the court and the public to weigh the credibility of his account. But this isn't the first time missing evidence has cast doubt over this case. Could the absence of proof shift momentum in Diddy's favor? Or is this just the beginning, with more revelations still to come?
We noticed that some of his family wasn't in the galley. Well, now it turns out again, right? Diddy's sister was there, but his mom and sons were once again not present. Second day in a row. Take that as you will. But David James, his former assistant, came back on the stand as Kim was sitting up. He seemed a little sassy, Kim.
Very.
He did say he didn't witness any violence between Diddy and Cassie. However, he did see a blog post alleging that Combs was physical with Cassie at a club. Diddy searched James's computer history. James had been taking Cassie food at the London hotel that week, but he never saw her. Staff always answered the door. He said
a little suspicious.
Yeah.
Right? There's like this report that something's wrong, and then he's delivering food to her at a hotel and doesn't see her for a whole week.
Without a doubt, suspicious. Yeah. He then also spoke about this Louis Vuitton bag regularly carrying $10K in cash, sometimes more. In the bag, there were 25 to 30 undisclosed pill bottles. These types you can see, along with Viagra and Tylenol, to increase manhood count, and water pills. He later added this one and other E's to the bag and saw
Perky and
Combs.
X.
Yes, X. There you go. He saw Combs taking them. James said he was reimbursed by Bad Boy for the expenses such as medicine and snacks, but for certain supplies such as baby oil, Astroglide, and protection, he was told to be reimbursed by Combs' security staff, who would pay him in cash out of Combs' LV bag. Now, I think this is key, right? This is part of the racketeering, the business empire, how he was constructing where money was coming from, cash money being spent, etc. He testified that Diddy requested him to bring an iPad to the hotel room that they were staying in. When no one answered, he walked into the room to deliver the items, and he saw Cassie in a hotel bed with a man he did not know in the room.
I have to correct myself. I think that was a typo. It technically was an iPod, I believe. I believe we are before the time of the iPad being super popular.
Music.
That was my mistake. But just to be, to
an
be
iPod. I remember
precise.
those before the phone and stuff. Yeah, we had to carry our music around in a separate device. Now it's all in one.
Right.
Well, now he saw this other man in a hotel with Cassie, and he said the man was well endowed. Let's go look at that exchange. I'm curious.
It was kind of one of these things, like it was Inner City Press said it, and we kept waiting to hear. We're like, how many of these other outlets are going to say he was well endowed? We didn't hear it, but yes,
with long hair and a large endowment.
And he scurried away.
Did you ask anything? I wasn't hired to ask about their personal affairs.
No.
I love it's the correct answer. Did you ever pick? They keep going. All right, well, there'll be some more. I want to go through some of these more sassy responses. Diddy was in the shower. Cassie didn't move. James said he never asked them about it because he did not have conversations with them about their personal affairs. And that's what the job description was. He also claims he was subjected to multiple lie detector tests conducted by former FBI agent due to missing items. He found the experience intimidating and recounted incidents where Combs' security searched his belongings after expensive items went missing. Additionally, James revealed that Combs kept footage of him dancing while under the influence at a Diddy party. If I recall this, he said, I'm just going to keep that for later.
Just in case he ever needed something to have on him, he then had it. And that's just unsettling. So it kind of just shows again that this idea of him having something on people seems to be a pattern. And in the grand scheme of things, David did not work for Diddy for an extremely long time. It was about a year and a bit. So I do find it interesting that clearly he was looking for opportunities and he got one and he took it. So kind of sucks. But again, this is also the New Year's Eve party that Cassie always really wanted to go to and apparently never got to because Kim Porter was there. So I understand it's like, okay, so the assistant gets to go, all these people get to go, but she doesn't. I get why it's frustrating.
Is there actual proof to back up these accusations? Or are we looking at a case built entirely on words? That's the question ringing through the courtroom as observers try to separate fact from speculation in David James' explosive testimony against Diddy. So far, the trial has been rich in drama and detail, but what's notably absent is tangible evidence. No photos, no documents, no corroborating testimony. At this point, it's James' word against Diddy's reputation, and the lack of physical proof is beginning to cast a shadow over the prosecution's case. James worked for Diddy for years, long enough, he says, to witness the inner workings of the mogul's private world. But even casual observers are asking, why now? Critics speculate that James may have ulterior motives, whether financial, personal, or even opportunistic. Others argue that staying in a supposedly toxic environment for so long without speaking up undermines his credibility. James, however, paints a different picture, one of fear, manipulation, and power dynamics so intense that leaving didn't feel like a real option. Whether the jury finds that reasoning believable is another matter entirely. Meanwhile, Diddy's legal team has been anything but passive. They've aggressively challenged James' testimony, labeling the allegations as baseless and zeroing in on inconsistencies in his narrative. According to insiders, the defense is determined to discredit James, painting him as an unreliable witness possibly driven by motives he hasn't revealed. They've hinted that there's more going on behind the scenes, that this case might not be as clear-cut as James makes it sound. This isn't the first time a high-profile celebrity has faced damning allegations without concrete evidence. History has shown that while accusations alone can damage a reputation, they don't always hold up in court. The Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard case is a prime example. Public opinion leaned toward Depp, but it was the extensive documentation, recordings, and witness testimony that ultimately turned the legal tide in his favor. In other instances, lack of proof has led to entire cases collapsing. A pivotal moment in this trial came when a member of Diddy's defense team directly asked James if he had any physical evidence of the alleged Obama pill bottle. His response? A flat-out no. The defense seized the moment, emphasizing the absence of proof and framing James as someone whose claims can't be verified. The tension in the room was palpable. Diddy, for his part, remained calm and composed, his expression unreadable, but the silence spoke volumes. Without hard evidence, the stakes feel razor-sharp for both sides. For James, this trial is about credibility, about convincing a jury to believe his word despite the lack of proof. For Diddy, it's about safeguarding a decades-long career, a meticulously curated public image, and possibly his legal freedom. The absence of physical evidence could be the turning point, either dooming the prosecution's case or pushing the defense to stay aggressive. Regardless of the outcome, the ripple effects of this trial are already being felt. Diddy's brand, once bulletproof, is now under scrutiny. Public opinion is beginning to shift, media narratives are evolving, and industry insiders are watching closely. If the tide turns further against him, the consequences could reach far beyond the courtroom. For now, all eyes remain on what comes next, because this story, it seems, is far from over.
On Ventura's allegation that Combs raped her in 2018 after they had ended their relationship, which he denies. The defense showing text messages between the former couple the day after the alleged rape, including one in which Ventura sent a heart emoji to Combs. Combs' team also trying to poke holes in Ventura's timeline.
That is not the gotcha moment that defense attorneys think it is. I mean, at the end of the day, witnesses are not great on specific dates, particularly when they go back years ago.
The defense also pointing to a text exchange between Ventura and Combs from 2012, in which she wrote, "I don't want to freak off for the last time. I want it to be the first time for the rest of our lives." At times today, the defense appeared to struggle to maintain momentum, facing frequent objections by prosecutors and regularly stopping Ventura's questioning to whisper together. Combs appeared to be actively involved, passing his lawyers notes. In a striking exchange with Combs' lawyers, Ventura saying, despite it all, "I don't hate him. I have love for the past and what it was."
We also saw musician Dawn Richard take the stand. She said that she witnessed Combs be violent with Ventura over the course of their relationship. I just want to remind everyone that Combs denies all of the allegations against him.
The allegations against Diddy have ignited a media firestorm, and the question on everyone's mind is, what happens to his career and public image now? From the surreal claim of pill bottles bearing Barack Obama's face to unsettling tales of freak-off, parties, and firearms, David James' testimony paints a picture of chaos, control, and volatility, one that directly challenges the carefully cultivated persona Diddy has maintained for decades. For years, Diddy has been celebrated as a savvy entrepreneur, a trailblazing music mogul who reshaped hip-hop, fashion, and branding. But these accusations don't just tarnish his reputation. They pierce through the polished exterior he's spent a lifetime building. And the impact is already rippling far beyond the courtroom. Outside those walls, reactions have been fierce. Social media has exploded, quickly turning some of the more bizarre claims into memes, especially the Obama pill bottle detail. But this isn't just internet fodder anymore. Public opinion is fracturing. Some fans are distancing themselves, openly questioning how much they truly knew about the man behind the mogul image. Others remain fiercely loyal, viewing James as opportunistic or bitter. This split could mark a turning point in how Diddy is perceived, particularly among younger generations who see him more as a cultural icon than a music artist. Then there's the business side of things, which may prove to be even more consequential. Diddy's empire spans multiple industries: music, fashion, spirits, media, and each of these sectors tends to be highly sensitive to scandal. We've seen how quickly partnerships can dissolve under public pressure. Kanye West's abrupt fall from grace serves as a prime example. While no brands have formally cut ties with Diddy as of now, the trial is ongoing. If further damaging revelations surface, or if public sentiment continues to shift, corporate sponsors could begin to view him more as a liability than a leader. One PR expert noted that sometimes it doesn't take concrete fallout. Just the perception of instability can be enough to scare off investors and collaborators. Even if Diddy escapes legal consequences, reputational damage could linger, reshaping how future projects are received, or whether they're even possible. This kind of scandal also has the potential to permanently alter someone's legacy. Michael Jackson, for instance, remains one of the most celebrated entertainers of all time, but his legacy is eternally complicated by allegations, despite the absence of a criminal conviction. Diddy could find himself in a similar position, a towering figure whose achievements are now shadowed by questions and controversy. A particularly revealing moment during the trial came when James described being berated during a freak-off party gone wrong. Observers noted Diddy's reaction, jaw clenched, hands gripping the edge of the table. For someone known for his effortless swagger and media-savvy calm, it was a rare crack in the armor. And it didn't go unnoticed. As the trial unfolds, one thing is clear: this story is far from over. If the current trajectory holds, we could see even more allegations surface, each one further chipping away at the empire Diddy built. The ultimate question now isn't just whether he'll be found guilty of anything in court. It's whether the public, the media, and the business world will ever see him the same way again. In the end, the verdict may matter less than the perception, and for Diddy, that may be the most precarious battle of all.
She said what she said, because that's what I've been talking about, and I was trying to get people to understand I don't know if people are trolling or not, man, but this is what I'm talking about when you are putting fear into people's heart. Of course, they're going to do whatever you say. So on the outside, it may look consensual, but it's not. These people, these women, and probably some guys too, basically scared for their lives. So again, his team is trying to say consensual when they're saying, no, this is how you get into this stuff, is putting the fear in their heart. They can't leave because they scared what's going to happen. So now they're going to do whatever he's asking, you know, to stay alive, to keep their careers, whatever the case may be. Because like I said, these people were promised things, and then I can take it away from you just like that. You know, I was looking at a comment here. Someone said, trying to figure out why a billionaire would want 20K chump change from the mom, and why would he give it back? Wait, what? 20K? He gave it back because he realized it was a criminal offense. What is that about? Hold on. 20K? I'm trying to look that up. See what this is about. Cassie mother says Sean Diddy Combs demanded $20,000 because her daughter was seeing someone else. Oh, that's what the David James testified? Wait, David James, former assistant Sean Diddy Combs testified. No. Wait, hold on. No, they said I'm sorry, it was just a picture of the David James dude. Okay, hold on. An angry Sean Diddy Combs demanded $20,000 from Cassandra, Cassie Ventura's mother, and threatened to release explicit tapes of his longtime girlfriend after learning she was dating someone else. The mother testified Tuesday at the hip-hop mogul's trial. Regina Ventura says she felt physically sick when her daughter sent her an email in late 2011 to say Combs threatened to release videos of her and send someone to hurt her and the man she was seeing, the rapper Kid Cudi. Wow. I didn't understand a lot of it. The tapes threw me off, Ventura told Manhattan Federal Court. Ventura of New London, Connecticut, said she then received a demand from Combs for $20,000. He was angry that he spent money on her and she went with another person, she said. Cudi, whose real name is Scott Muscudi, I can't pronounce that, sorry. Oh, snap. He's going to testify Thursday, kick.
Diddy's legacy is at a crossroads. For years, he's been celebrated as a cultural icon, someone who has shaped music, fashion, and business with undeniable influence. From launching iconic artists to building a media empire, his reputation has long been one of success, innovation, and power. But now, serious allegations threaten to rewrite that narrative entirely. Claims of chaos, control, and danger behind the scenes have surfaced, and they aren't just salacious tabloid fodder. They challenge the very foundation of his public image. These accusations are forcing fans, industry insiders, and longtime supporters to reconsider who Diddy really is behind the empire. The big question is, could this trial become the defining moment that overshadows his decades of achievements? Or is this simply a temporary scandal, one that will fade with time if no concrete evidence emerges? Let us know your take in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for the latest updates as this courtroom drama continues to unfold.